Welcome back. Someone in one of the other recent videos had mentioned that I hadn't even introduced myself. So about 85% of people call me Yidna. I've been called Yidna for probably over 30 years now. It's basically just Andy backwards, but it's just a nickname that stuck. And yeah, so most people call me Yidna. So welcome. This is the workshop tour. Over the videos, people have asked me a lot of different things about my workshop. But you can see this is like my main bench. It's going to be a little bit of a scroll around the bench now, but I'm mainly going to show you like my essential tools or my favourite tools, some of the tools that I've had for nearly 28 years, and just my basic sort of setup that you can see from this very first bit. All the little hand tools are kind of like close to hand. Even with this setup, there's days when I just want to strip it all out and put it back in a different way. I don't know if anyone's ever really happy with their workshop setup, but I definitely like to change things up. Even the little table that I've got my Anvil on, my son came in last weekend and he just put that together for me out of one of my old benches that I did have out near my lathe. But I just wanted to get all like my tools underneath it as well. So I did have like this wooden stump that I had my Anvil on before. But yeah, so this is my little sort of junk pile with like sort of melt up bits. A lot of it's handmade, sort of little racks for the pliers. During that very first lockdown, I kind of should have been in the studio all that time starting the YouTube channel really, but I played too many computer games in that time and never got around to coming in for it. But I see a lot of welding videos, and that's when I got into welding, and that's what a lot of my stands and my bench skins are made from, things that I've made myself. But this is my little anvil stand. You can see it's only like a little small English-made record anvil. So now I keep all my collet punches, the rounds, the square, the oval, and the emerald cuts. They're the main four that I use. Of course, I've got the 30-degree round, and the one that you've seen me use more than anything so far, the little black one, like the 17-degree punch. That's like my go-to. That's what I use more than anything else. You see like the little swage blocks here and the doming blocks. The swage block I rarely use. Things like the doming block I might use for things like the little cups for pearls to sit in. You did see me use it on the amber pendant that was like about 4 or 5 weeks ago now, for doming like backs of pendants, and I might use it on a cluster engagement ring. Things like the little micro motor that you see there, absolute waste of money. I've used it about 5 times since I've had it. This is like my little acid pot where I have my pickles, either like the proper acid or the safety pickle. But you see I just use like a little ceramic casserole dish on top of like a little single hob, and it's so much cheaper than those little pickle pots that have got like little inside insulated plastic thing. Yeah, especially at the beginning, save yourself money. My bench peg, my other benches have got a standard fixed peg. This one that I've got my microscope above, I do use like the GRS system. I think there's another there's another system that's similar, kind of copied, or as far as I know, they certainly weren't in England before the American GRS stuff came over. But I always use the lowering plates. I've actually got 2 of those lowering plates if I want different heights. But yeah, even when I'm using my peg on its own, I do, apart from these videos now, I do so much stuff under the microscope. Even from general cutting, I tend to have my bench peg on the lower piece. Traditional rolling mills, I did have some Indian brand ones before, but they all like little V shapes, like the little V grooves. They weren't in line. But this is just a standard English made Durston, just the 80mm. Sort of, it's about 55% flat. The rest is all the grooves. I haven't even got the D-shaped bits on the outside. You can get the other ones with the like a gearbox attached to make it easier, but less fun. These little magnetic strips are great for holding everything on. I have a few things that don't fit in my stand, like a few like see there, the little diamond things that I use for sharpening. This whole bottom left rack is all these round burrs, just the standard, the Bushmake. There might be a couple of generic brands there, but it's mainly the Bush ones that I get. There's a few people that will say, oh, they're all made in the same factory anyway, but some of the cheaper ones do like to flick off the little fins off the side. So the top rack, I've mainly got the bearing cutters. You see those ones for cutting the inside rim of claws or rub over settings, and I generally use the 90-degree one. Rarely go to anything else. These round burrs, still bush again, but where they've got that little yellow ring around like the very top point, or that top part anyway, they're the high speed, or like the tungsten carbide. But I'll use them as much as possible. Obviously they cost a lot more. Then just over this side I have my needle files. You notice that some of them have got a little bit of sort of pink nail varnish on the bottom. Some have got the gold nail varnish on. Sometimes various colours I'll add to the ones that I've adapted. So if I used a safety back one before that you see me use, where I literally ground it down, and similar to this one that I'm holding now. It's almost like paper thin. But yeah, so I'll colour code them just so I can reach out for them easy. This is my pulse welder. I've done a couple of videos with this. It didn't get much attention, but I've done a whole sizing with it. But it's the Orion Pulse. It goes up to about 30 watts, this one. It's like the starter one in the range, but that one only has like a little panel that's got the welding pin behind, which is a little tungsten carbide welding pin. Pin, needle, electrode, whatever you want to call it, that you have to keep sharp because it can splat a bit. But yeah, the one below this just has a little screen. This one does have the microscope. So if anyone's watching you, if you're teaching someone, that they need to have the welding goggles on. But for me, looking down the microscope, when it flashes, the microscope just shuts out like a split second, and it just shields and protects your eyes. But it's really easy to use. In the more advanced videos that will come up, especially like the engagement ring type bits, you'll see me use this a lot more just for tacking items together, just to save. Like when you've got something on the soldering block, if you've got a ring shank on the head, if it hasn't sort of clicked in, if it's kind of balancing, as soon as you put the flux on bubbles, it moves. But tacking it's good. So we've got basic sort of polishing mops, like the little felts. A lot of the things on here I don't actually use. You can get away with using not having as many tools as this. This is a bit extreme, and some of them I've had for a long while. But this little stand takes my little GRS air graver tools. So I'll keep all like various ones of these. I've got other boxes in the workshop for ones that I don't use as often, or like the tool blanks that haven't been sharpened up, ready to use. So some of them are the higher speed. Ones like this are out of the like 2.4mm something square actual tungsten carbide, where you could actually shape them yourself. This little one's my little knife edge. There's actually a few of those, but I can use them in the handpiece for hand tools, or I can put them in the actual graver, so it's sort of continuously pounding. And these are the little diamond impregnated silicone wheels. So these are all the wheels that I use to sharpen all of my graver tools and all my stone setting tools as well. They say that's the smoothest one. That one needs replacing since it's already started getting quite a few pit holes in. And this one I've got like the various sort of flame burrs, cones, the bud ball burrs, the bud phrases, and the seating burrs as well. In a minute, like this sort of like the bullet shaped felts I'll use now and again, but the main ones are it's mainly like the I'm not even sure what they call them, but like these basically all these three felts are cut from the same one original. It's just it's a disc, but a thick disc. And you find, especially this one now, you can keep them quite thick if you want. The general ones that we buy in England, like at the sides, they're not nice and crisp and they just fluff out. Whereas these ones I get, they've got like the P in the end, and they're very flat size. They're such a nice quality felt. I actually get these from Germany, and all of these ones start off with this, and I use an old tungsten carbide drill bit that I've shaped into like a scriber, and as it's spinning, you cut into it. So when you do, like you can see on those other ones, you can do a knife edge, or I'll do the actual like thinner disc, like a thinner sort of sliver, because when you're spinning it, it takes the shape, which I'll point out in the next video when I'm making I'll use it in the next video actually. And just the normal fluffy mops, just the little wall mops. So for like storage and like the way I'll get my metals, like when I first started, I used to just use an old camera pot. Now where everything's digital, I actually have to go on Amazon or eBay and buy camera pots. But for example, this one's what I keep the platinum in, like a bit of spare platinum. Sometimes solders if I use solders. So this bit of platinum, I think it's about 2 inches long, or 1.5 inches long. It's a 6mm rough rolled. To save a bit of money on the metal, most of the bullion dealers in England will sell, if you want the bigger, it'll be 6mm square. Whereas I get these from Germany, or from like a German company based over here that will import what I need and when. But it saves money. It saves money, and I always pass that saving on to customers as well. But yeah, any English jewellers, please don't ask me where I get my bullion from, because that is something that I do. That I've got a good relationship with my supplier. Yes, I have like generic sort of pliers as well. Some parallels that have got like the step grade for normally turning up little collets. But when it gets more interesting, is pliers like this, where you can see that I've actually ground down the ends. Quite often there might be a plier that you need that doesn't exist. So if a plier doesn't exist, just make it. It sounds easy because it normally is, just like grinding it up on a grinding block or a little stone wheel in your pendant motor. You can shape them quite easily. There's a few tweezers and like tungsten tweezers for platinum and palladium that I'll keep on this little rack as well. A lot of it's generic pliers. Of course, like dividers, these wide leg ones just stay sharp for ages, and they just feel nice. They just feel really nice in your hands. So again, there's certain pliers, like these ones you can see, like these ones do bend out a little bit. I do need to bend them back in when you want something really thin. Quite often, this sort of ply you can actually buy, but it's normally about £30 more when you can just grind it quickly and just to the exact shape that you want. Certain pliers like these are for holding collets and putting things together. Things like this aren't as necessary. Like you see, I've adapted the ends of these a little bit, but I don't use them very often, but it's good to have certain tools, because you never know when you're going to need them, but definitely not an essential to begin with. What isn't essential is the half round pliers. They always come in useful, even like whether they're shallow or high domed. It's always a good idea to get a few of those, even if it's the cheap ones, to start with. You notice I've got a lot of masking tape as well on the pliers. It just, the less scratches you put in, the less you've got to take out later. So these ones I've adapted as well. When I do some, you see they almost bend over like that at the end. So this is, I actually only really use these for claw setting. There's a little trick that you can do to neaten up claws and make setting them an awful lot easier. But that'll be in time. Yeah, just some good old snipe nose, like chain nose pliers, flat end. You can see literally everything. So many of my pliers are covered in masking tape. And the round nose pliers, I didn't pick all of these off to sort of hold to the camera, but it's always worth having maybe at least 2, preferably 3 different sizes, because you generally use them quite a bit, and they always pay for themselves in the long run. So these ones, these ones are, some of the other ones were as well, but these ones I've had for nearly 28 years, and they were only budget ones at the beginning, but I don't know, it seems like budget tools sort of nearly 30 years ago just lasted a lot longer than what a lot of them do now. So many of them buckle. Even with like parallel pliers, these wide flat nose, I don't use them very often at all. You can see I used to use these, but these cheaper brand ones just end up not being parallel, and they just end up sort of going outwards a little bit. But that's what you get for cheap ones. These pliers, you can see I've ground down the insides of the tips. So that's mainly if I've made a platinum ring and I want to put a bit of welding sheet in the gap. I can just put the pliers in, open them out, drop it in, and then sort of close it. But these are so useful. I'd recommend doing these on a lot of the pliers. And again, with side cutters, I only use these ones for, like the flush side, flush on one side cutters. So like I have a white pair just then, similar to this. They started off looking a little bit like these yellow ones until one day I cut something on the very tip that was too thick and I broke off one of the jaws. So I just ground it down and made some like snub nose cutters as well. See, that's how much shorter they are now. But they used to be really big. But both of these get used all the time. And I think the yellow ones were a Lindstrom brand, and I think the white ones were Larson. And these are just like trusty old flat nose pliers. And these ones as well will be 28 years old in the summer. I've always loved these pliers, and they've gone everywhere with me. And a lot of these metal handle pliers as well did have coatings on at one stage. So the snipe nose parallels I use more than anything, whether it's holding, bending, just like hard gripping. But these ones are the English ones, the Muln pliers. But these ones are a bit shorter on the end, where I've ground these down for certain, because I wanted them just a fraction wider at the end. But those ones I've had probably about 20 years now. And when I open them, they're still parallel. They're my favourite brand of parallel pliers, because they're still parallel. You know, that's what they're called. So that's how they should stay. But yeah, no, it's yeah. But these ones, his name is actually Rango, because like from the side he looks like that little lizard. I think I might have mentioned that before in another video. The Graversmith GRS system, I've literally only had this for about a month. I did have one of those generic eBay things for about 300 quid, and I did have that for about 5 years, but it was never that reliable. And this is the medium-sized handpiece. When I did order this, I got that lightweight. I can't remember the names of them, but I can't remember if it was the Monarch. I can't remember, but I had to send it back because it was just too light. I couldn't get the power behind it. But this handpiece, it's the middle one. But yeah, it's kind of changed how I've done things this last 4 weeks really. Because up until about 5 years ago, I used to always use a proper GRS, the G8, for a long while. Just a little bit of stone management, all like my little small diamonds and some of the big ones that I've got in a different tub. I keep all in the little white stone sleeves. Obviously there's some white sapphires there, but I always keep a parcel of just not very nice stones, just for jewellery repairs, or if I want to put things in silver that aren't great. And a lot of these little stone displays are just easier for when I've got customers coming in. So super glue is probably one of my most used things, just for the amount of stabs and cuts I get. I wouldn't advise properly getting that and using that at home, but yeah. For drawer plates, pretty much all of mine are Italian or Swiss. I've only shown these two, but the Italian and Swiss ones seem to just stay really nice, stay nice and true. My other round one is a standard round one, whereas this one's a tungsten carbide drawer plate. And you can see it says on there Switzerland, but for me this is the best one. But it even polishes your wire, which when you're actually doing so much platinum work, because when you're soldering platinum, it doesn't go black and nasty. You can literally polish it and put it together. But yeah, the Swiss one is the best one. Of course, the essential little square that you need. This little mitre plate. It's not a Durston one or the expensive one, but it's not the super cheap budget one either. It's kind of like a mid-range, but it will cut your 90 degrees and your 45 degrees. I can't remember last time I needed to do a 45 degree angle, but it's mainly the 90 degree bit I'll use on some occasions. But very handy to have. Of course, a big essential is the ring stick or triblet. The blue handled one is one that I've had from day one, just a standard steel, but you can see it dents it does dent easily, especially in the early days with a planishing hammer and you miss it, and you do tend to put a lot of dents in. And there's something that I do in my studio where I have people come in and help make things in a kind of way. And quite often they might miss, so we'll just use that one. But these red handle ones are I can't remember how they call them. I think I just call them the hardened steel version, but the red handle ones all dent. It's a lot harder to dent. You see, this one does have a few dents in it, but this is a big essential. You might be tempted to get the ones that've got the ring sizes down it. I just wouldn't advise them, because if you're doing that to save money, it's much better to get a normal ring stick. Because if I didn't have a normal ring stick and I had the letters down it or the ring sizes, it ends up imprinted inside the ring. So, and the main I've got loads of hammers, but the main essentials: a rubbish one for hitting punches and domes. If you're using anything where you've got even if you've done the vice up too tight and you want to undo it, it's worth having just a crappy hammer, cheap one. But of course, an essential one is the rawhide mallet. Obviously, there's probably vegans and stuff out there that will just use the nylon version, which I have got as well. but they just don't. I just don't like the weight of them and the feel when it hits the metal. I've just always liked the actual rawhide for the animal skin. But it's probably like the most traditional hammer that a jeweller has used for a long time. And of course, this is my all-time favourite hammer. It's probably due a new polish, but a planishing hammer. It's got a flat side. The domed edge isn't too domed. It's only shallow, but this hammer I've had from day one. It's actually it's the hammer that's in the video of the intro at the beginning, where I've got some flames underneath it. It's the one I used to make my intro. But it's probably been about 3 years, maybe 4 years since I've repolished. So sometimes I go over with some fine 2000 grit sandpaper and just get on the polishing mop with some high fin polish, just to spruce it up a little bit. But this is probably my most cared for hammer, and this is just a much heavier weight one. The dome inside is a lot steeper. I know it says the brand on the side there, but I think they were German ones. I think this one, it was an English supplier. It's actually owned by a German company now. But yeah, I'm sure these ones are German. What's the name? Yes, yeah, something House. Yes, that is German. Of course, for the verniers, I know I've known people that have had these ones. These are like the Japanese ones, are like the Ferrari of digital verniers. Bearing in mind you can get them for 20 quid, cheap ones. I think these ones are like 180 or 200 pounds or something. But to be honest, the little screw on my one didn't last 5 minutes and it doesn't hold. I've tried taking it all apart, tried welding a new pin on with my pulse welder, but it hasn't worked properly and just wasn't worth the money. But little cheap dial ones are my favourites. I've had these ones for a long time and I just find them so reliable. The amount of times I've dropped these, the main dial now and again just completely goes the wrong way when you drop it. You can adjust it, but when it's closed, you can just alter it a little bit. So to another section, that's a few spare parts for the pendant motor and like the air graver stuff. This little tool's useful. I've only had it for about 5 years. I think I've used it twice for just rigging up for like wire collets, where you just put them in, and I've just used it for tacking in place. But I'll probably use it about 3 times maybe in 5 years. The same with this little collet set. You never see me using this. I've used this more for hammering, for like getting circles in like a texture. This rarely comes out, that's why it looks untouched. And the only 2 that I've used are the ones that aren't actually in the kit. But if you do a lot of thin rub overs for Etsy type work, it's probably quite worth it. So you always need a knife in the workshop. One of the most handiest tools to have. That specific brand has just always been a favourite of mine since I was a little kid. My dad always had a Victorian ox. And I've always collected them. I've got a lot more than those as well. But yeah, these are like the basic handpieces. One of them is from years ago, and it's a Teco. It isn't actually an official Fordham. But they're quite good copies, and it's always spun true as well. But for my main Fordham handpieces, you've got this one that you actually lock it in place. You put like an old file through the little hole on the side and tighten it up. I haven't really used that this much. It's more of a backup in case one of the other chucks go and I run out of handpieces and I've got like emergency work on. But these quick release ones are my main go-to handpiece, and I've normally got a couple of these. So if I need to change things an awful lot, I'll literally just have 2 on the bench at a time. Or if I've got a couple of jobs on the go, like for different people, I'll keep them on the bench at hand with the like next to all the tool bits that I want to change in quickly or sort of swap out. And the hammer handpiece. The next video is actually another redstone sort of setting, but it's at half and half, and I'd actually use this handpiece on half of it and do the other half with a normal pusher by hand. So it's basically going to be half done machine, half done by hand. Obviously still me holding the machines, but just to show you the difference and like the end result. But this is, if you can't afford a graver, obviously that's great for engraving, but if it's just for rub overs, that piece is quite handy. Another essential in the workshop, this is just my tub that just says fine silver and pure copper. So quite often I'll get people that will bring in some 9 carat gold, yellow gold, and some 18 carat yellow, and they want to alloy down the 18 to a 9, or sometimes they'll have fine gold that I want to alloy down. So it's always worth having that on, just on standby. And just a good engineer's vice. I used to have a small one, but doing something up so tight I snapped it in half. So that one was like £45 off eBay. Brand new ones of them cost about £1,000. And of course now we've got my ring bender. It's got all like the different dies. This one is a Durston. I've only had this one about a year. Before that I just used like an eBay jobby, but this one's so much nicer. It runs smooth. You can flick the handle around the other side if you're left-handed, or depending on your work setup. You might have seen in my videos, I generally put this in my vise and do up, whereas you can see it's got the 4 holes there. So if you've got a big enough workshop and you've got a nice space for it, you could just permanently drill it into the bench and keep it in one place, which I might end up doing. So it started, after a few years in this workshop, it has started to drive me crazy, keep putting it in the vise. But it's just deciding where to do it. Alright, so, and people commented before what flame I'm using, and you see this is at the American Smith's little torch. I don't like any of the other oxy propane or acetylene propane torches. That's my favourite, and definitely worth getting the proper one, not the rip-off 20 quid one on eBay. I know someone that had an accident with one of them and literally got burns all up their arms and almost burnt the face off. And literally just wrapping up the video now, just like honeycomb soldering block. You can spend a fortune on ceramic blocks for soldering platinum and welding, well, platinum and palladium, but you see I just use a 3-inch scorifier turned upside down, so it's 6 quid instead of 70 quid. And I've got the normal, got a charcoal block that I sometimes use, and these main normal solder, like Scalamex blocks, you can even drill into them and screw them together. But yeah, that really is the tour. I'm literally just going to leave it there. Let me know what you've got the same or what you'd like to get. But yeah, thank you so much for watching again. And like I said at the beginning of the video, my name is Yidna, which is Andy backwards. Everyone calls me Yidna. And thanks for watching. Look out for the next video. It's going to be, I think, in about 2 days' time. Then there's going to be another one in literally about 5 days' time. So it's going to be a lot more this week. Thanks for watching and take care.